After a very long time, I walked out of a theater thinking about how the hell did they pull these shots, and knowing Nolan, that the thing about him is that he markets himself as the guy who does not really like to use VFX. But for a guy who does not like VFX, his movies, especially the Odyssey, had so many special effects shots. I was completely immersed into it. But ironically, this movie has fallen victim to the whole marketing thing, the whole PR thing, right? There are so many controversies about this movie, and even I had started to doubt Nolan because of what this movie could potentially had been. But I'm sorry to be disappointed, or rather, I'm happy to be disappointed that Nolan outdid himself once again. There are a few problems in the movie, but they are not related to the controversies, I assure you that. So let's get started with the good things first, and then I'll slowly cover the things which I did not really enjoy that much. So let's talk about the VFX or the SFX or the practical effects, whatever Nolan would like to call this. This is something which I really hated during the marketing run of this movie, is that no one talked about how good the or how much they worked on the special effects to get them correct, because in this movie those special effects look really good. There was one sequence in mind which completely bent my mind, and I still cannot get a hold of that sequence even hours after watching this movie. So, if I were to wear an Apple Watch on my wrist while watching this movie, and during that cave scene which we saw in the trailers, I would have that watch would have called the ambulance in like every 5 minutes, because that scene was completely making my heart rate go so fast. I think the guy sitting beside me could even hear it. That was one of the best scenes. In every 5 minutes, there was some tension building up that would make me want to just close my eyes or like grip the seats even more. The music helped a lot. The music, uh, I heard a lot that everyone was complaining that Nolan asked Ludwig to not use orchestras for this movie the because orchestras didn't exist back then. And I did not feel a lack of an orchestra in this movie. The music revealed itself to me when there was none. After a crescendo, there would be silence. And then I would notice that, yeah, the music with the sound effects had made me feel the weight of the scene. It's not really loud, but it's there when you need it. Now, let's talk about the characters and also the dialogues with them, because they're sort of connected. First of all, the characters had all of the characters had little uh, setups that paid off much later in the film, when you sort of start to forget that there was something connecting, and only then the payoff started, and it would give you a reward for remembering that. And the film also tries to make sure that you remember it from time to time through the use of flashbacks. The movie does that. Now let's talk about the dialogues as well. So the dialogues, at first I thought that they would suck, as Nolan himself stated in an interview that maybe they will come to bite it in his ass. And I don't know, because for me, as a non-American audience, this felt like a very global approach to making a film which would work for everyone. And for me, the dialogues just completely went into the background so that I could focus on the story, on the narrative. on the characters, what was going on. Sometimes those dialogues really stuck out where he was saying daddy, dad, mom. But I think that was only because of the controversies that it was in my that it was playing in my mind. Other than that, the dialogue felt fine. Also, just like any other Nolan film, whenever he does a film, like with the last film, if we take an example, the last film also had strong messaging about wars. This one is about society and where it's headed. The messaging is very clear, it's very hopeful of the future. And this is something which I like about a Nolan film, because the sort of films that makes always makes me hopeful of the future, of the world. And this film is no exception to that. Coming to the casting, yeah, even I was a little skeptical at first, and the only person that felt a little out of place or not matched the part was Zendaya. For me, she did not look or played the part of Athena. I'm sorry, it just didn't happen for me. Other than that, everyone else felt completely fine. Even Lupita did not feel out of place. And with that, we can also slowly dive into the negatives, or at least the things which I did not enjoy in this movie. First thing is some of the editing. Sometimes in the scene, I could see a few jump cuts. Like, I don't know if those were intentional, but there were certain jump cuts which felt really lazy and not intentional, in my opinion. It can be because, like, maybe this is like one of the early releases, but I think maybe they will just fix it, or like keep it. They can keep it. Maybe that makes them help ground the movie in reality in some way. So moving on, we I also had a problem with the IMAX marketing of this movie, because currently I'm in a place where there is no IMAX, and for me to experience and watch this movie, I have to use a regular normal 2D screen. The movie looked fine, and there was no jumping between different aspect ratios like in other Nolan movies. It was in consistent CinemaScope format, but some of the scenes had like vignettes on the sides of the movie. Some of the shots had vignettes on the side. It was not really distracting, but it was noticeable because it would be there for a few shots and not be there. Some of the scenes, like if there would be a day scene within the same day, within the same location, different camera angles would show different levels of contrast in the sky. It was something which was sticking out. So that can be an issue or not. It's not a big issue. Also, another thing which is related to the IMAX thing is that there is a lack of long takes. I know that this camera was like made especially for this movie, but thing is, this camera can only roll for 3 minutes at once before the film runs out. So the possibility of doing a longer take is not there. And I could feel this because I'm someone who likes long takes. And this film could have really utilized a few long takes, but there are none in this movie. Just so you know. Another thing, and this is the biggest gripe of mine with this movie, is that the third act of the movie lacked the punch that I hoped for in a Nolan movie. The climax is all over the place. I did not enjoy the climax. It was more like a filler than an intentional scene that would move the story forward, because the story and the movie had ended when Odysseus reached Ithaca. So it was a bit too long for me. Still, the ending works because Uh, there's a little bit of foreshadowing that came before it, and it wrapped it into a nice little wrapper, but it left me wanting more from the movie. So that was it, and I hope this was a good review or a fine review. I would definitely ask you to watch this movie while it's in the theater. I might go and watch it again. Okay, bye.